Hey fam, welcome back to Friday Favorites. I'm Jordan, and we are just digging through scripture every Friday and talking about different women in the Bible. We are still in the book of Genesis. There are so many women that we can glean from in this very first book of the Bible. And today we're talking about another one that's kind of obscure, that you may have never heard her story before. She's not one of the most famous women in the Bible, but her name is Tamar. Now, in the past weeks, we've talked about this lineage, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Jacob had 12 sons, and so Judah was Jacob's fourth son, and he had children with a Canaanite woman. He found his oldest son, a wife named Tamar. So that makes Tamar Jacob's granddaughter-in-law. So we're moving on down the line here. All that to say, we're moving on down the line. But was evil, and God put him to death. Like, he was detestable. Yeah, God did those kind of things in the Old Testament. I'm thankful that God's never gotten angry with me and been like, all right, that's it, wiped off the face of the earth. Thank God for grace that we received through Jesus, but this is Old Testament. Anyway, was evil. God put him to death, and it made Tamar a widow. So the next brother married her, and his name was Onan. And Onan was supposed to secure an inheritance for the family line of That's the way they did things. If a brother died and never had children, the next brother was supposed to marry the widow, but then their descendants would actually benefit family line so that he had a legacy to go on. Now, Onan was greedy, and he refused to give Tamar children. He didn't want any part of that. So he was evil, and God put him to death too. It made Tamar a widow for the second time. Now, her father-in-law, Judah, promised Tamar the next son, but he was much younger at this time, and he said, you're going to have to wait until he gets older. When he's of marrying age, I'll give him to you. Then he can redeem your family lines. And I'm going to read to you from Genesis chapter 38, verse 11. It says, Judah said to his daughter-in-law Tamar, remain a widow in your father's house until my son Shelah grows up, for he thought he might die too, like his brothers. So Tamar went to live in her father's house. Now, Judah was secretly thinking that Tamar was like a black widow. He was like, okay, she's already kind of killed off two of my sons. I don't really want to give her a third, but fortunately he's young. I'm just going to send her back to her family and then tell her one day she can have my son. But he had no intentions of ever doing that, and he never honored that promise. He never followed through out of fear. So Judah could have set her free as a widow and told her to remarry, but he didn't. He sent her to her father's house to live as a widow. So now Tamar is kind of stuck in limbo. She can't remarry. She can't redeem her late husband's family line. She can't do anything. She's just kind of stuck. So after Judah's wife died, Tamar actually tricked her father-in-law. She dressed as a prostitute, and when Judah was on his way to the temple, she slept with him and became pregnant. And she took items as security. She was like, hey, let me hold on to your crest, your ring, your staff, whatever it was. Let me hold on to those things so I make sure that you come back by. Well, Judah comes back by, and the prostitute, Tamar, is gone. And then the town finds out that Tamar is pregnant, and they're like, Judah, your daughter-in-law has been sleeping around. She's done terrible things. And Judah gets angry. And when he confronts Tamar, she's able to give him his very own personal belongings back and say, actually, you're the father of this child. Now, this is another one of these stories that just sounds absolutely foreign to us. We can't comprehend it. This is like something that would be on Mari. But I want to read one more verse to you. It's 38, verse 26. It says that Judah recognized them, his items, his personal belongings, and he said, she is more right than I, since I did not give her my son Shelah, and he did not know her intimately again. So even Judah, who had been tricked, recognized that Tamar was ultimately just trying to be loyal to her first husband, to and do the right thing. Now, Tamar's in the lineage of Jesus. She's another one that is like great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandma of Jesus. There's some pretty crazy stuff throughout Scripture. And if we could learn one thing from Tamar, I think it's loyalty. She also did things in an unconventional way. I'm not suggesting that anybody go out and pretend to be a prostitute and try to deceive somebody else in order to have children, but I do think sometimes that God will call us to do things, and as women, we may have to think about unconventional ways to do that. Maybe you're in a relationship where your husband is unequally yoked and he's not a believer, and you're thinking to yourself, God, how can I make an impact? How can I raise my children in godliness when I have a husband who doesn't believe? Well, you might have to be like Tamar. You might have to be a little bit unconventional. So that's my prayer for you today, is that you'll follow Jesus, that you'll find him in Scripture, and that you'll glean even from the really messy stories in Scripture. I'm really glad that you joined us. Be sure to check out our other videos and join our online community. Our prayer is that we'll actually encourage each other and spur each other on in our faith, and that through each other we'll be able to walk closer to Jesus and the purposes that he has for each of our lives. We'll see you next time on Finding Jesus.